So the famous Heritage questline in 10.1.7 has just been datamined. The entire storyline hasn't been datamined fully, but we have just discovered the actual chapter names, and they are super interesting. We have the return of Maiev, something going on with the new World 3, the Night Elves, Druids of the Flame most likely. Most interestingly, the Scarlet Crusade has been confirmed, and there are heavy hints that not only may the Forsaken expand and get new areas, but that they're reclaiming Lordaeron as their own, and potentially rebuilding Undercity as soon as 10.1.7. We literally have datamined Forsaken gods using the emblem of Lordaeron. So let us cover all the chapters, all the hints, and what it all really means. If you want to get Dragonfight or anything else Warcraft related, Gamio has some excellent deals that you can check out with my link below. Best of all, you can get software, gift cards, a bunch of games at below market prices. On top of that, you can also use my code DORON to get yet another discount, so make sure to check out my link below and grab some amazing deals at Gamivo. So the biggest thing about the new patch is that we are getting the Heritage questlines for the Night Elves and the Forsaken, really the most relevant races at the moment that are just stuck in a bit of a grey area, and this seems like it is going to be the place that is going to actually give them some conclusion. While with the Forsaken, I think this is going to get big. However, for the Night Elves, I feel like this is just going to be a setup for the big storyline in 10.2 and the Emerald Dream and the Mirror, like tying the loose ends, figuring some things out, and then all of us will be working on saving the new World 3. However, I gotta say, I always get a bit of a yikes moment when I see Blizzard doing a new revolutionary story for the Night Elves. However, so far we have actually discovered what will be happening. Obviously, these are just names that can mean a lot of things, but we have discovered some models, some spells, some armor, so we can at least extrapolate that, and we can also think about what is going on with the storyline by connecting the dots here. So for the Night Elves, the first part is called Clarion Call, which, if you're a bit unfamiliar with the word, means like a really clear call. In my opinion, this is like a throwback to Warcraft 3 and a horn Malfurion used to save Nordrassil to bring the Night Elves together. This might be the same call, but for a Mirdrassil to bring the Night Elves back once again. Ancient curses could have something to do with the Worgen, the Satyr, or even Arcane, but really hard to tell at the moment. In regards to Grim Portent, it could have something interesting to do with the Grim Totem that's, we know, are relevant in Dragonfight. I mean, literally the leader of the Primalists was Kuro Grim Totem, and we know for a fact the Primalists were really keen to access the Emerald Dream to mess with the World Tree, so all this is obviously strongly correlated. With countering corruption, this could have something to do with the actual Emerald Nightmare and the corruption of the World Tree. In regards to the other Mercy or Misery stepping into the shadow glimpse of terror, honestly it is hard to tell, as it could really mean anything. Some people suggested that balancing the scales would be a play on words for the Naga. Obviously, they relate to the Night Elves, but honestly, I doubt this would happen in a single questline. Then we have Heart of the Issue that I personally think may be related to this corruption of the World Tree, and we now have Vorden's Wrath. This one is the easiest to decipher, as we have actually datamined Maiev, the Warden. I mean, we have her model. We don't know what is going on with her, but she will definitely be here. Then we have Mark for a Protector, which could indicate Night Elves protecting the World Tree or something with Maiev. And lastly, we have Honor of the Goddess, which is almost certainly related to Elune. Personally, I see this something akin to the Night Elves pledging themselves to Elune to protect themselves. I mean, keep in mind, so far we have actually datamined the Druids of the Flame that are Night Elven traitors that serve Dragnos and Cataclysm, and they are returning now in 10.1.7. There could also been some attempts to resurrect Dragnos, so this corruption could also lead into this elemental side of the storyline. However, now let us get into, in my opinion, the more interesting questline, because we actually have more information, and that is the Forsaken one, and it seems like a lot of really interesting things are happening. Most importantly, the possible likelihood of Undercity actually being rebuilt as a new Lordaeron, and Forsaken completely unexpectedly embracing the heritage of Lordaeron and reforming a new undead human kingdom. Previously, we learned that the questline will be about the old enemy returning, which we couldn't really guess at the time, because if the Forsaken have anything, it is enemies, and pretty much all the enemies are old. However, we can now decipher that, and that enemy is the Scarlet Crusade. This is obvious with the past year or two of us getting Scarlet Crusade revamp hints everywhere, and it looks like all of this might be related to this Heritage questline. So the entire thing has a little bit of a darker undertone, sort of like the Forsaken embracing their darker side to start from scratch to deal with their enemies, and it doesn't seem like they're playing reconciliation here, honestly. So we have the first part called I Am Forsaken, which obviously talks about their identity because they lost Sylvanas, they lost their capital for a while, so they have been in this weird limbo for quite a few years now. now. The unliving summon seems like an obvious play on words to unite the Forsaken for this threat, and we learn about our enemies abound, which is the next part. Now, to the Sepulchre is the most interesting one. I mean, you would think this would relate to the Sepulchre from Shadowlands, and we know in Shadowlands Blood Elven questline, we went into Moltenaxis to learn about necromancy and to deal with the Scourge of Azeroth. However, personally, I don't think this is actually it. After all, the Sepulchre is literally just a place of burial, usually more like a vault, like a big vault. All the Forsaken are literally undead, so they have tombs, but I feel like this might be uniting, like the uniting factor in Undercity, possibly the Sepulchre of Terranas Menethil, who, after all, is the father of Lordaeron, and they seem to be wanting to reclaim that heritage. Then we have nothing like classic Boomweed, which personally I have no idea, this could just be some sort of a filler bit. The Acid Beats paper seems interesting, as it could have something to do with the Forsaken Plague, but it could also be like an acid test to test the value of something, such as testing the leadership of the Forsaken. I mean, sure, they're leaders on paper, but can they really lead in times of crisis? However, now things are heating up, things actually get good. Obviously here the Scarlet Crusade steps in, we can see that from the names. It is either the Scarlet Crusade spying on the Forsaken or the opposite. The proper disguise suggests that the Forsaken are the ones that infiltrate the Scarlet Crusade, and Fear is our weapon also indicates that as spies we would set chaos to the Scarlet Crusade. This could mean that the undead are looking to get rid of them and to fully reclaim this part of Lordaeron for themselves. Previous hints suggested that undead plan to abandon Gilneas, so if they see this to the Alliance, they might want to get rid of the Scarlets for good and to get some territory on that side. The Scarlet Spy and Among Us obviously seem to be related to this, but then we have the Flight of the Banshee, which honestly, I have no idea what this could be about. Previously, we have datamined a spell where Sylvanas returns, so we don't know whether that will happen, but honestly, I doubt it. Some see it as a memory or some sort of a hologram of Sylvanas returning. The Flight of the Banshee could also be like a new Forsaken ship that they might have, or it could be a literal Banshee that would possess the Scarlet Crusade. Then we have the next two, which are a really aggressive indication, Dead to the Living, and this is the Hour of the Forsaken. Both of these are things Pewter said back in Wrath of the Lich King. This is the Hour of the Forsaken, Dead to the Living. This, in my opinion, doesn't signify the interference of Dreadlords as it did in the past, although that could be a thing as well. It's more like the Forsaken fighting for themselves and no one else. Not the Horde, not the Alliance, not the Living. This is the Hour of the Forsaken, where they can finally deal with the Scarlet Crusade. The final chapter is the most interesting one, called The Return to Lordaeron, which I think could be the biggest hint. As I said, the Forsaken lost their identity, but after all, they're just undead former citizens of Lordaeron mainly. So now that they don't have Sylvanas, they have this. Scarlet Crusade has been disputing that heritage. They were saying that they are the only successors, but now if they're beat, it means Lordaeron survives, but as an undead kingdom. We have actually datamined Forsaken guards wielding the flag of Lordaeron, which honestly is a bit of an insane turn of events no one really saw coming. This new branding could indicate that Undercity may finally be rebuilt. Previously, in Shadowlands, they cleansed it, they got rid of the plague, and in the past, they lived in the sewers of the former capital, which really showed that they were like a plague that took over the kingdom, not really the legitimate descendants of Lordaeron. Now, if they claim that heritage back, we could see them rebuilding the actual capital city, and it wouldn't even be all that much work as a huge part was already revamped back in BFA, so we could potentially be seeing an undead Lordaeron with new emblems, a brand new city in 10.1.7. Thank you for watching. Check out all the hints we currently have for the next expansion, and check out the Nodes Academy for videos on real world history and mythology. See you next time!